my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Man Cave. Are you cold? Man, it's cold here. I know that for sure. I'm sure it's much colder in many places, but for the southern Ozarks, this is about as cold as it gets. The coldest I ever remember it being in my whole life was 15 below. And that was, and I'm not making this up, that was the night that I spent outside. I spent outside by myself camping. And you're going to say, well, it wasn't really outside when I tell you the whole story. But trust me, if you saw the place I stayed, it was outside. We call it the Rolfing place. It was my mother-in-law and father-in-law's. They owned it, and nobody ever went out there, and it was an old rundown farmhouse, and it was really dilapidated. I mean, like there was no windows, that kind of dilapidated, and holes through the walls that you could literally throw a beagle through. I mean, they were good-sized holes. Well, I mean, I had it boarded up the best I could, and I had a little wood stove in there. And I had stayed out there when it was pretty cold, like in the 30s, 20s, like that. But it was actually 15 below zero that night. And this little wood stove, if you know what they are, those are little cast iron jobs that are about 2 feet long maybe, and they're about a foot square. They got 4 legs, and the little front door that opens. I mean, you can barely get 2 or 3 pieces of wood in there, Well, I had that thing blazing as hot as I could get it, and they're not airtight anyway, so they burn the wood really fast. And it was so cold in there. I was inside. I had all my hunting clothes on. I had insulated coveralls, insulated sweatshirt with a hood. Everything I could get on, I had on. I was sleeping inside an insulated sleeping bag right up against the wood stove. I was like within 3 feet of the wood stove, or closer maybe. Freezing to death because that stove wasn't putting out any heat at all that night. And the next morning when I woke up, well, I mean, I got up a billion times through the night to throw more wood in. I mean, like every 30, 40 minutes, it seemed like I was throwing wood in the thing. Freezing to death. And anyway, the next morning when I tried to get something I opened up my Coleman cooler. It was one of those, this was back in the mid 70s probably. And I opened up the Coleman cooler, and everything inside the cooler was froze solid. It was one solid block of ice. I couldn't get anything out of the cooler. It was that cold. So last night, then, to explain the difference, last night got down to minus 15 also, if you look there on the upper left. But actually, if you look just below that to the lower left, that was the low, minus 16. So last night was a new record for me. That was minus 16 degrees here. And that's chilly for southern Missouri. And anyway, minus 16, and we still have a water line froze up in the master bathroom going to my sink. The cold water is frozen. I am so hoping that doesn't break. I've got heaters blowing on the wall there and everything, trying to warm it up, and got the water line open, and every little bit I go in there and I run the hot water and I plug the stoppers to try to force water down in on top of the cold, because it will do that with the cold water open. But so far it's not opened up. It's been froze all morning here. I think I know what happened. Sue went in, around 5 in the morning and checked it. When she had to go to the bathroom or something, she just tested it, and they weren't frozen. But you know what I think it was? Whenever you super cool water, like in your refrigerator, and then you've seen it on, I'm sure you've seen a YouTube video where they move the bottle and it just instantly freezes. Well, that's what you call super cool. And I've done it myself. I've actually seen that happen more than once. And I bet the water was super cooled in the line, and when she opened it, it came out, but that she didn't let it run, like had she let it run, I think it might not have froze. But she just turned it on, saw that it was working, turned it right back off. Well, that's super cooled water with that shake like that, just that much movement probably instantly froze it. I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying that that's probably what happened, and I told her that in the future, if you check it, make sure you let it run for like maybe a minute, and that's good for anybody else to know, too, if you're checking water like that, because I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Anyway, it's just one of them deals. Nothing you can do about it. Just hope it doesn't bust the line now that it's froze up like that. So I'm interested to hear how all you were doing. Did you get down to minus 16? I'm sure the people up north of us did. I'm sure they beat that record by quite a bit. But for where we are located on the map, minus 16 is pretty doggone chilly. I don't care where you live. Minus 16 is cold. Old Itchy Boots, she's made it into China, and she's doing well there. She got the driver's license thing turned out not to be such a big hassle. And I noticed a comment in there that said something about her fried or eaten pigeon. I don't think that would bother me too much. I could eat fried pigeon, or they call it squab. Well, I think squab is actually a young pigeon, I think. But regardless, I don't think I'd have too much trouble eating that. But there's a lot of stuff in China I'm not too sure I could eat. Fried pigeon would be just like a fried quail or some other bird. So I'm pretty sure I could handle that. But some of that other stuff, I'm not so sure. The things that got like 6 legs and some of them have 8 legs. I don't think I could do that. And back on the weather, I keeping in touch with my buddy Bruce Robinson down in Mississippi, and he ain't doing well down there. They have had a major ice storm. He said that they were even on Fox News. All the trees are busted off like in his yard, and the trees are across the road, and they can't go anywhere, and it's solid ice everywhere. And, and he's been out of electric since... I think it was 2 a.m. yesterday morning. He's been out, so he's been out more than 24 hours now without electric. And they don't have the same kind of temperatures that we're having, but it's freezing anyway. It's below freezing because it's ice everywhere. So that ain't good. He's heating his house with a propane heater. So I'm curious how the rest of you are faring. For the shape we're in, I guess we're in good shape. I haven't been brave enough to go out and go check around anywhere. I probably should go check up at the rental house and the old farmhouse and the shop to see if anything's frozen and busted there. I did turn off the water to the rental retreat, so hopefully it shouldn't be a problem. And we do have it heated, so it shouldn't be a problem anyway. But you never know. It's just... things happen when it gets down to this kind of temperature. So I don't have really anything else to cover today, but I thought I'd show you my next little minor project here. Just before we went live, Sue says, does this have a battery in it? And she's holding up the garage door opener. And I said, yeah, it's got a battery in it. She goes, well, it's not working. So I took it apart. And I tested the battery. The battery's okay, but can you see? I don't know if you can see this little thing right there. It's moving in and out. That ain't supposed to do that. It's come unsoldered from the motherboard, so the battery holder is not soldered anymore. So that'll be my afternoon project to see if I can find a way to solder that back without tearing the whole thing up. I doubt that these little remotes cost that much anymore anyway, so we may have to get a new one, but we'll see. I do like my new garage door opener. I think some of you may remember I did put a video out on it, I believe. It's the kind of garage door opener that mounts on the wall where the door is. In other words, it mounts to the end of the pole that twists, that spins. that the tension bar, and the opener connects right to the tension bar. So all it does is it twists the tension bar, which is awesome. There's no chain involved. It's the quietest door I've ever seen, and it just works wonderful. So if you're in the market to replace your garage door opener, I would recommend you look into one of those. Now, they cost more, just like all the new technology does, but in my opinion, it's worth twice the money that those other ones cost. Just for the quietness, they're just quiet by comparison, and there's less to go wrong. There's less to break. So it just seems like the best option to me. So anyway, let's go to the comments and see what all is going on out there in the real world, since we're all, we've moved down to the Antarctic, I think, is where we are now, where we're living. Let's see. David Tharp says, howdy, everybody. Breaking news. Cold weather is expected until temperatures warm up. Well, doggone it, I wish you could have given me better news than that. It's not supposed to warm up around here for a while, according to Sue. I have no idea. I haven't seen anything on it. Wayne Blitz says, good afternoon, Jerry and friends. Hope all is well with everyone. Keep it safe from very snowy northeast Ohio. Yeah, my grandsons, I forget how much they said that they had, but they have a lot more snow than we have. I don't know that their temperatures were much colder, but their snow was a lot heavier. Joe Cool, you say, make time for fun. It's good for the soul. Yeah, that's a good idea for sure. Joe Cool also says, let's weather the cold together until next week in southeastern Pennsylvania. Yeah, I've been watching Outdoors with the Morgans. He's the guy. He's a mess. He really is. His channel is so big that he's become independently wealthy, and he's constantly buying new toys and new equipment. He just went and bought a big snow plow that I've never seen one like it. It's got the V where it makes a V and blows, two ways, but it also opens up flat so you can push snow, and then you can angle it also like that, and you can even angle it with a V. It's a coolest snow plow I think I've ever seen, and it's for his side-by-side, and it's pretty cool. He just got that, and then in this morning's video, he went out and bought a regular handheld snowblower also, or one of them little small push jobs. It's a real small one, but he got that just for his concrete areas. Anyway, it's nice to just have all kinds of money, I guess. Ronald Todd says, good afternoon, Jerry and everyone from West Banks in New Jersey. Great gun stock video. Well, thank you. And the story on the gun stock video is, I wanted to get it out for Saturday evening, actually, and I got most of it done. I got through the first draft of it by Saturday evening, and I was wore out messing with it, so I waited till Sunday morning, and then I went through it again, and I had it ready to go by noon Sunday. So I thought, well, it'll be a nice thing. Everybody's frozen, and they'll be able to watch the video, on Sunday afternoon. I put it out. YouTube says, it's not eligible for monetization. We're reviewing it, that kind of thing. So I went in and I appealed the review to have a person look at it or whatever, and now it says a person has looked at it. It's eligible for limited monetization, meaning that it only gets a cut of the YouTube premium revenue. It won't get any advertising revenue. Or at least I don't think it will. So that's the good news. You probably won't see any ads when you're watching it. Just aggravating, just really aggravating. When you put that much work into something and then there's nothing wrong with that video. There's nothing objectionable. I don't care if you don't like guns at all. It's still nothing objectionable in there. I'm not doing any kind of hate speech. I'm not pointing a gun at anybody. It's just showing how I'm making a gun stock. That's all it is. But the world is as it is, and there you go. Let's see. Bill Webb says, good afternoon, Jerry and friends, from a balmy 27 degrees in Commerce, Texas, with about an inch of ice frozen on the roads. Well, I don't envy on the ice thing. I guess I'd just soon have what we have, even if it is minus 16. I think I'd probably rather have that than the ice, especially what old Bruce is going through down there, because it sounds like it is just Armageddon down there. Donald Matthews says, itchy boots and pigeons. Yeah, well, like I said, I don't think that'd bother me too much. I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice, but on the other hand, I could eat that before I could eat, fried bugs and stuff that they eat and all the other junk, especially all the green junk, too. To me, just, normal green junk that everybody else eats, I'd eat the pigeon way before I'd eat that. So, anyway. Kim Zeese from Arizona. And then let's see. Will's check says, afternoon, Rosa fans. Don Nice says, Jerry and friends, Jerry, the gun stock is getting better. Well, I think it is. I haven't done anything on it, though, in the last month and a half. Whoops. Well, there's the negative of that. There's the negative of the camera that follows you. I had to turn that off. It follows you, but then it loses you. But so I haven't really done any more to it, other than I did the glass bedding. Whoops. Can you see you can see that. I think I covered that in a vlog already. But I got the glass bedding done, and I got one side panel checkered. It needs to be cleaned up. But anyway, I got one side panel. I started, oh my gosh, I thought I turned that off. Well, I thought I turned that motion thing following me off. I did that time, I think. Sorry. I can't win for losing. You know my luck. Anyway, and then I made another one. I started making the other one. You can see I've started the checkering. I'll tell you what, I'm not a fan of checkering. That checkering stuff it's just not easy. So, yeah, and maybe I can get back on that this afternoon too, and get caught up on that some. I still have quite a bit of video in the can on that gun stock, so I mean I can still put out another video yet before I even catch up to where I'm at. Easily, I'm sure, maybe more than that. Let's see, where were we at here? David Tharp says, I just saw on the news that since it's so cold, they're suggesting that people check up on the elderly. I'm usually up by 5:30 or 6. Bring donuts. Yeah. C. Will's check says 24 inches of snow and 22 degrees here in Cheshire, Massachusetts. 24 inches of snow. We've got about, I'm going to say real close to 7 or maybe 8, but I would say 7 inches for sure. I didn't measure it, but I'm pretty good judge on that. And I could see it stacked up on my rock wall out there, and that hasn't been disturbed. And I know for sure it's every bit of 6, and I'd say right at 7 is what I'd guess it at. Scott Wagner, hello from Montana. How's the wood collecting going? Well, it's at a halt right now. Fortunately, we cut down that great big tree in the front yard, and we got most of that hauled up here right to the furnace already. So I'm hand splitting a few pieces as I need it. Believe it or not, we've burned almost all of the loose stuff, that the smaller tree top parts of it. Most of that's gone. So now I'm down to splitting those bigger pieces. And I'm also burning that, I've had that stack of green wood there since, I don't know, November or some time frame like that. I think it was November. And so I'm burning some of that green wood now too, and throwing that in there. Let's see. Bo Horn says, hey everyone, we're pretty much iced in here in Ruston, Louisiana. Wow. Yeah, odd to see ice down that far. It really is. But I hope you're not in as bad a shape as old Bruce is. It sounds like it's really bad where he's at, based on what he was saying. And he doesn't expect to have electric until maybe tomorrow, and that's wishful thinking, he said. Let's see. Ronald Todd says, good video and audio today. You got it down now. Well, yeah and no. I mean, I just have like I said, this Linux thing is great if you just do the simple stuff. And of course, this live broadcast is not as simple as it would just be if you were just using it for your own use. But this is a very basic thing that's working. I still don't have the big deal where if you brought the band in, I don't have that working, and therefore I don't think I'm bringing the band in this month. At least not right now. I don't plan on it. Bill Rhodes says, good afternoon, Jerry. And besides that, I think they would be coming this Thursday, wouldn't they? And with this weather, I don't see them coming anyway. So I don't think we'll be doing it this month. Paul Walton says, it's 71 degrees Fahrenheit in sunny Central Florida, but forecasting 37 degrees tonight. Very warm compared to most of the country. Yeah, go ahead and rub it in. It don't hurt at all. No, I don't mind the cold weather. I don't like this ridiculous cold weather. I mean, I don't mind if it's in the mid to upper 20s, and that's really cold because it's still below freezing. But when it gets down to minus 16, that's just ridiculous. LD Stultz says, it's been quite cold here in north side of Indianapolis. We got 12 to 13 inches of snow. It's a whole 4 degrees right now. Feels like minus 3. Yeah, well, I don't know what it would have felt like if the wind was blowing at minus 16, but it couldn't be good. Fortunately, I went out, I don't even know how many times I went out. I'm going out about every 5 hours right now and filling the furnace up. About every 5 hours. And each time, and I'm not exaggerating, each time takes about a wheelbarrow of wood. I'm trying to make sure it doesn't burn down lower below than, I'm trying to keep that water temperature up. If you let that water temperature drop down to even 150, which if it's not too cold, that's not a big deal. But when these kinds of temperatures, it takes a lot to bring 150 up to 185, So I'm trying to keep that water temperature up, and so every 5 hours or so, it takes about a wheelbarrow of wood. So you can imagine how fast I'm going through it. Even that big a tree, as big as that was, it don't last long when you're doing that. So I was out at 2 this morning, 5 this morning, and then I went out at 11. So I waited a little longer, but the sun was shining by then. It's not as cold now. I don't know what the temperature is. It actually says it's 21 now. The sun's shining pretty bright. So, but 21 still 11 degrees below freezing. Let's see. Wavy Gravy says, but that's way better than minus 16. Wavy Gravy says, I was doing fine until my igloo caved in. I knew that space heater was a bad idea. Yeah, it is amazing though how an igloo or something like that is a lifesaver when you're in temperatures that are as cold as they have in places like they need those igloos, like where they get minus 40 or something, that igloo can be way warmer on the inside. Not warm, just way warmer. Let's see. Rod Wintler says, Jerry, I am a garage door opener. I am my garage door. Oh, there you go. Gotcha. See, I can't read. That's the problem. I read something and I go, what? What's this? What did he say? Map in Arizona says, here low tonight 39, which is cold for Arizona. Hello, everybody. Yeah, that's pretty chilly. Let's see. Guy Bros says, hey, Jerry, 64 cloudy in Ruskin, Florida. Cool. No, that's warm. I mean, Hugh O'Connor, Trump says climate change is a hoax, so enjoy the results. Well, I don't know that he says it's a hoax, but there's lots of debate on what's causing it is the problem. Everybody knows that the climate changes all the time. It's done it thousands of times through the millennia. Through the existence of the Earth, the climate has changed many, 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 many times. The debate that everybody has the problem with is what's the real cause of it. Since it's done it way before humans ever had any effect on anything, I kind of think that's the biggest part of it. I'm not saying humans don't have some impact on it, but I'm saying we don't have the major impact on it. And I'll stand by that because it's happened. It's happened, well, for sure, hundreds of times, and I think it's happened thousands of times in the records. I know it's happened hundreds. Let's see. Bill Webb says it's not supposed to get above freezing till 11 a.m. Tuesday in some areas around here. It was between -5 and -10 overnight. Wow. That's really cold for down as far as you are. Edward Smith, I worked with a guy one time that ate pigeons. He said they were like eating a fat dove. Yeah, well, they are a dove. I mean, pigeons and doves are in the same basic family. They've got a large breast. I'm sure they'd be good eating, actually. I've never ate a pigeon, I'll be honest. I have eaten dove, and dove is very good. So like I said, I don't think I'd have any problem eating a pigeon. That wouldn't be no problem. As long as, it's cooked under normal sanitary conditions, as long as it's taken care of properly, I'd be fine with that. But there's a lot of that other stuff, especially believe it or not, especially the green stuff. I swear I'd have more problems with. She goes to all these places and they just pile on all this green food, and I'm going, ugh. There's no way I could eat it. I couldn't eat any of it. Let's see. Gino Hitch says, hi, Jerry and friends. Just got you on my phone. Got almost a foot of snow, 3 degrees this morning. Wow. And Simon says, does the green wood burn more slowly and not as warmly as the other season would? Well, honestly, I'd be truthful, Simon. I can't hardly tell any difference at all. The only reason I was just letting it dry out is because, it does put out a lot more moisture. But honestly, in that particular furnace with that particular stainless steel short flue that it has, and the people that sold it to me told me never to put a long one on it, because if you put a long one on it, it will creosote up. The short flue, it doesn't creosote up. And I can't tell any difference, honestly. Can't tell a bit of difference. I mean, I do think, if I being 100% honest, I'd say that green wood lasts a little bit longer, but it's so minuscule. Minuscule, I can't say that word. Anyway, it's very little difference. Very little difference. Now, in your own wood stove in a house, yeah, there'd be a huge difference. But on that furnace, I don't see any difference, really. It just, whatever you throw in there, it turns it to ash. I don't care what you throw in there. You can throw anything you want to in there that's of course, burnable, and it's going to turn it to ash. Bill Rhodes says, Jerry, is 25 here in Warrenton, Missouri? Presently, I guess, because it's 21 here now, too. Let's see. Ronald Todd says, low 20 here and 1 foot of snow yesterday. Now the wind's picking up. Ronald Todd says, how's the tinnitus doing? And it ain't doing any better. It's annoying as heck. I'm telling you, it really is. I just try not to think about it. As long as you don't think about it too much, it's not too terrible. I mean, if you can keep your mind occupied on other things, it doesn't bother you too much. But if you just stop and think about it, it's really loud. Eric Sandell says, wood pigeon are still hunted in Finland. My father hunted them in 1960, but I don't remember how they tasted. We have minus 11 C, but on Friday it may be minus 20 C at the weekend. Well, I'd have to convert that to know how different that is for. I think we are colder than I think minus 16 F is colder than minus 11 C. I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive. I'm not good with the Celsius conversion at all. Theron Corbett says, my dad purchased a gun collection of European-made double rifles and shotguns. The checkering on the stocks was super fine, 30-ish lines per inch, if I recall, on some of them. Yeah, I'm going for 22, and that seems crazy fine to me. I'm serious. 22 seems crazy tiny. And if you think about it, a 16th of an inch is pretty tiny. If if you can relate it to that, well, 22 lines per inch is 22 instead of a 16th. It's a 22nd of an inch. So it's a way smaller than a 16th. So it seems tiny to me. I always thought the check ring was bigger than that. I really did. I don't have any. I don't even own a checkered gun at this point in time. But my dad did, and I remember his guns, and I always thought the check ring was quite a bit bigger. Anyway, Gary Smith, if you're worried about water lines freezing, I would turn the cold water on and let it run continuously, not wide open. Yeah, I get that. I know we normally would do something like that too, except that, we are on a well, and the well that feeds this house is kind of a limited well. You can run it dry, and so we don't typically want to do that here if we don't have to. But honestly, I didn't think we'd have to. We left the cabinet doors open and left, like I said, and let the heat get to it. And it hasn't frozen before now. And it got down, last night it got down to minus 16, but the night before it was minus 8, and it didn't freeze. I really do think that the reason it froze this time, I think it was super cooled, and it was on the edge of freezing, but it wasn't frozen. And then I think when she turned it on and only let it run for a second or two, that's what froze it, because that's exactly like super cooled water in your refrigerator or in your freezer, and you take it out and you move it and it freezes instantly. You look at it and it's liquid, but you move it, and as soon as you move it, or as soon as air hits it, it freezes solid. And I think that's what happened in this case. David Tharp, somebody glued my whole deck of cards together. I just can't deal with it. Yeah, that would be difficult. Eric Sandel says minus 16 degrees is about 26.6 C. Okay. All right. That don't sound right. That don't sound right. Because 0 would be... Zero C would be freezing of water, and 32 is freezing in Fahrenheit. And if we're all the way down to a minus 16, you'd have to be on a minus number, not a positive number. So are you saying it would be minus 22 or minus 26.6? That could be, I guess. But I don't know. I do know that Fahrenheit and Celsius both at minus 40 are equal. That's all I do know. Danger Boy, minus 20 times 1.8 equals 32 equals Fahrenheit equals 4. Okay. I don't get that. Sorry, I don't get that one. Minus 40 and minus, yeah, I do know that. I knew that. I knew that they are equal at that minus 40. Hugh O'Connor, minus 20 equals minus 4 Fahrenheit. Okay, so minus 16C would be quite a bit colder. I don't know just where it would be. Simon Jardine, just checking with my air rifle, Jerry. The checkering is about 15 to an inch on the diamonds are tiny. Yeah, I would have guessed it closer to that. I would have guessed it maybe even 10 per inch, to be honest with you, without seeing one up, just from my memory. I would have guessed it at maybe 10 per inch or maybe 15 per inch. But when I found out that most people do it at 20 or 22 per inch, I was surprised. 22 per inch seems tiny to me. Danger Boy, yep, -4. The formula is C times 1.8 plus 32. I don't know. I'm not good with math that way in my head. I'm good with math if I can just sit down and figure it out. I'm not good with it in my head. That's probably another one of my normal defects. Anyway, that's about all I know, guys. And I do know it is sunny out here. I do know I have a garage door opener to fix. I do know I should get back on the checkering on this stock. I tell you, I'm not a fan of the checkering. If anything, if I don't typically procrastinate, I really don't, but I'm procrastinating on this checkering. It's just not something. I'm not enjoying it at all. I thought I would. I honestly thought I would really like it. And I think I would if it was bigger. But this little tiny stuff is driving me crazy. It's so easy to get off of the line. It's way easier than you would think. You would think that if once you got one line, the next line would just follow it. Don't do that. You get that grain in the wood, and it wants to follow that grain in that wood, and it'll run off the side. It's really a pain in the neck. So, I got a lot of patience for a lot of things, but I'm not real happy with this checkering thing. I'm hoping I'll get better by the time I actually do it on the actual stock itself. Right now I'm doing it on these little panels, and that's hard enough on a flat surface. So I have a feeling when I get to the curved surface, I'm really going to be in for trouble. Y'all take care. We will see you tomorrow with something else.